everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Accommodation Show. This week, I'm joined by an incredible human being called Shahar Goldboim, and he is from a new tech company called Boom. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Bert. It's a pleasure being over here.
It is a real pleasure, and you are someone that's just kind of, in my view, come out of nowhere and making massive impact in the industry, massive change. You've created a huge voice for yourself and the products that you're doing. So one is, I guess, a huge congratulations for the success. But generally, that success doesn't come without a real message and a real meaning behind it. And I think that that's something that Boom is managing to do. You're managing to break through, not just because of who you are, and but more because of what you're doing and the message that you're actually spreading. Now, we saw each other probably at VRMA, but didn't talk too much. We've talked in the meantime. And I thought it would be fantastic to get you on the show today because I think there's some real value that you'll be able to bring to our audience, especially at this time of the year when people are reviewing their businesses. I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday who actually said to me, and you'll love this, he said, this is the season where people are reviewing all of their tech stacks and moving companies. It's sort of the start of the year. Everyone's reviewing everything. So hopefully this is going to be super relevant for everyone. Now, Shahar, can you do me a favor and introduce yourself to people? Give us a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. So first, Shahar Goldboim, born in Israel and in the States for the last 20 years. I got into the vacation rental industry. So how my uncle liked to say, it took me 30 years to become an overnight success. I got into the vacation rental industry actually in 2010. I did a startup to real estate. While I was doing like that startup, I'm also a broker to real estate, did hundreds of $1 million of transactions. But a friend of mine came to me and told me, remember the house that we got to my parents? They decided not to move into, and I want to do it in Airbnb. And I was telling him, it's great that you want to do it Airbnb, but what's the connection to me? He told me everything that you do, you're doing really well. So I told him, you know what? Let me think about it like one night. So I came to him after like a day and I told him, you know what? I found a company in Australia actually that can implement interior design on top of empty pictures. The name of the company I think was Box Brownie. So I
told him, God. Yeah, Box Brownie, of course. Yeah.
In 2017. And I told him like, let's take the house, the picture of the house where the house was empty. Let's implement interior design on top of it. Fake furniture with Box Brownie, and let's list it on Airbnb. We'll see the result, take it from there. So we listed the house with the fake furniture, and all of a sudden we received like reservation after reservation after reservation. And I came to my wife. I told her, okay, we have a business. Do you want to design a home? She said, hell yeah. So we actually designed the house and told everybody that we got a flat. So we knew interior design. And this is how I got into the business. The thing is, I was really deep into real estate. So I had a flip that we stuck with. So I changed it to an Airbnb. We bought a multifamily on the ocean. We changed it also to vacation rental. And all of a sudden, I have a management company. So at the time I was using I got like a PMS to use it, but I found a lot of inefficiencies basically over there. So we build tools on top of this PMS. Long story short, I built a company that currently manages around $150 million of properties. I also, when I've done that, I met my mentor into life and he told me, why you're not controlling the inventory? So we built also a fund. I deployed around $50 million in the mid-luxury market in Southeast Florida and west side of Florida. And around a year and a half ago, we built like a really amazing technology, and I decided to be able to spread it to the world and basically doing it. And at the time it was tool on top of the PMS. And I said, hey, you know what, with the AI, with the change of AI, we really have a huge opportunity over here to build something that even is more unique than what we've done. So we built the first AI PMS, like in order to do that, And yeah, so we move really quick in a year and a half to do the impacts that we are doing with us. But I feel it's because we understand the issues, meaning I grow this property, we understand the difficulties in it, like the people that are working with Boom, a lot of them used to work in design VR. We understand the element, we understand the suffering, and we build from understanding. So we can build really fast, and we are understanding it from a level of return, from the level of operation, from all levels, from the level of project management. So how do you take all of it and put it basically under one platform? And this
Yeah.
is what Boom does. It's allowing you to really capture everything under one platform, and the ability to scale your operation with multi AI agents that allowing you to scale as an operation in a much faster way, in a better way, that allowing your people to less focus on the tedious work and focus more on the gas aspect.
Beautiful. So, look, it sounds to me like you've been identifying a lot of problems within your own business that you're trying to solve and then create a solution to it, which I think is quite common. If you look at companies like Amazon, it was the same thing. So, AWS was something that came out of them actually building it for themselves. Atlassian as well. There's many, many companies that followed that journey of, hey, we're using it internally for our own company. And they find that that product is so good and works so well that if other people start using it, then it kind of becomes a separate business. I'm going to ask you a few questions, but before I go into it, I do want to just rewind a tiny bit to Box Brownie. They now have a product called Snap, Snap, Snap. And what you might not know, Shahar, is that they're actually nominated for the Strive Awards, which are coming up next week. So they're in the top three as finalists. And they've actually come because they've been in traditional real estate for a long time, and now they've moved into to short-term rentals, but their solution will work for hotels, motels, bed and breakfast. So have a look at it, folks. We will put the links in the show notes to Snap, Snap, Snap. It's a cool solution. Basically, it'll help you edit your photos. And I do not get paid by Snap, Snap, Snap to endorse them in any way. So, well, not at this stage anyway. Maybe later on. But I did want to go back to that because people do ask about those sorts of solutions. So I do recommend you have a look. Maybe I can get an affiliate link into the show notes as well. We'll see. Now, one of the things I want to focus on for this episode, Shahar, like I love your journey and your story, and the one thing that's really obvious as well is that you're well funded along in the process. And I think that that's a really interesting episode that I would love to cover one day. Is actually how do you get money, who invests money, and all of that. I think that's a really, really interesting one. But I think for today, I'd love to focus on the tech stack. And what I'd love you to do, without talking too much about exactly what Boom does, but contextualize it for everyone else that because a very small portion of the audience will be using Boom, but there will be a massive proportion of the audience that have tech tools in their business. And we talk about tech stacks. It's all the different tools that you use within your business to make it work. So it could be anything from your email client. It could be your task management tools, like we use Asana and ours. It might be communication like Slack or WhatsApp. And then it gets more complicated because you have lots and lots of tools that are specifically for business operations. We've got accounting, so Zero. So there's so many tools. Could you help explain to the audience what a tech stack actually means within the short-term rental space?
So, yeah. So, in reality, the way that the business is built is as best of breed. And you will have your PMS, and to your PMS, the property management software, you will be able to connect a lot of tools like task management, like pricing, to do different pricing for each day of the year. That obviously change with your events that are happening or the time of the year
Mm.
or occupancy that is happening. You need your project management. You need like your guest experience. And for me, when I'm looking at stuff, it's like, what's the cost that I have? What's the value that I get from this product? And more than anything, for me, the market is a little bit hard because you have a lot of little solutions from a lot of stuff, and you need to work on your people needs to work on 7 or 8 different platforms in order to maintain their day-to-day activities. And a lot of times what's happening is that you have discontinued workflows. So your task management is great. You tell somebody go and do that. But when it does that, it will cost $40. Does that go to the P&L of the property? Does that go to the statement? Does that go to understanding is KPI of this person, meaning who is my best cleaner? How much time it's taking to clean? And for me, it's like, how do I capture all of the data and how do I make easier processes and I continue workflows? And I think the world is like changing, meaning when you look at the world, the we have a lot of SaaS. We will do your email, we will do your accounting, and the way SaaS used to be built is that if you have a company, your bookkeeper will work on QuickBooks or Xero, your marketing person will work on HubSpot, your handyman will work on Monday. And when I'm running a company, the people basically doing all of the activities. So if your bookkeeper doesn't have like a receipt or an invoice, he will tell your handyman, hey, send me the invoice. And for me, the word needs to change more into a word of BaaS, which is business as a software. And how everything is basically talking with everything. And you can have multi AI agents that will do the tedious work and everything will flow. So your task will flow to your financial and will work to your analytics to understand what is going on. So this is the way I look at the world in matter of like tech stack
Yeah.
and
And
where
look,
the world is going.
sorry?
Where the world is going.
Where the world is going. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Look, I think there's absolutely no doubt that the integration of different tools is going to be absolutely crucial. But the linchpin of it all is data points. So making sure that we get the right data, that then we can use that data and that the tools understand what it is that you're giving them. And that's always been a huge thing. Even like with machine learning, they've always struggled with it going, hey, we've got all this data. It's fantastic. But how do we actually program the tools to use it? But before we go into the sort of that how it all works part, I really want to focus so on on the idea of someone listening to the episode now is saying, okay, this is all good. I can see that things are changing. I've got my tech stack. So I've got all these different tools that you guys just mentioned. Like you said, be it Monday, other things that I can think of off the top of my head, guest communication. I can think of also kind of owner management, so sort of a CRM system that sort of sits in the background. You've got the owner management, then you've got owner acquisition as well. So do you use a different system for one for managing your owners, so sending them their invoices and check in, check out details of guests and what's actually happening with their property. But also you need a prospecting tool, which will be a different sort of customer relationship management tool. So you've got all of these different tools, but then you push them all together and then now you run your business. And I would say that within our business, we have probably in excess of 80 to 120 different tech tools. We do reviews on it, but I get too scared to look at it because it's just that many. And quite often I can't even remember what half of them are called because we've just got that many that we use for different instances, different purposes. I know that for like, it's interesting that you talked about best in breed. And best in breed basically means that you're using the tool which is best fit for purpose. And a great example of this are pricing tools. There are quite a number of them in the market. And then typically you'll try to find the best one that works, the best reputation, the one that works best for your business. And then you go with that. AI chatbots as well. Right now, there's a massive scramble for that. Now, from what I'm hearing, so
So
just bear with me. The question is just that we've got all these tech tools, right? And what we're saying on this episode is, hey, you probably want to have a look at all of this, and you might want to make a change. Why?
because you're working on 80 to 120 tools that you don't know half of them, you're not using half of them. You have a lot of money that's going to waste. And in the end of the day, is what do I get from it? And how they are connecting with each other. So how much platform my people needs to work on. So you need to work on WhatsApp, Slack. They need to have messages from Airbnb. How do I create a CRM that all of the messages will come into one place? If I use a chatbot, how this chatbot is connecting to my task management, how it's connecting to all of the information. Meaning, let's say if you ask me if you can do an early check-in, and the chatbot is not connecting to the task management, how can I tell you if you can do an early check-in or not, right? Because I need to go to my service call and see if I need to fix a toilet or to fix a shower. Then I need to go and see to my reservations if somebody did a late checkup. Then I need to go and see if everything was completed, right? So how do I give like all of that answer? How all of the tools are connecting with the tools? So Bert, we have a conversation. We probably talk, I would say, around 2 to 3 hours, me and you. So think about it like an API access. So let's say not me and you, let's say somebody that I know, really know, a good friend of mine. I have a really good API connection with him, right? I know a lot of information about him, but will I able to answer like him? Even if I knew you for like 20 years, will I be able to answer like Bert? Because I didn't born like you. My parents weren't like your parents, right? I need to understand all of you in order to answer like you. And that's a lot of problem like with API connections in between systems that you can't really have all of the data. You have some data points, but you don't have all of the data points. So when we are moving into a new, listen, AI is the biggest change that the world have ever seen,
Sure.
ever. It's a change of an infrastructure. It's a change like from farmers to the industrial revolution that happened like took like 100 and some years to do the change. We are going to see the change now in 5 years, 10 years.
Sure.
So we are in a big shift, and I think that all of the view of tech stack needs to be changed in that connotation to what we are doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, and that's exactly where I see the industry moving is for that more seamless integration. And one thing that I'll also add, and this is just a thought as you were talking, is that what a lot of people don't realize is that let's say you've got your property management system that sits in the middle, right, and that's managing your day to day, and there'll be a bunch of tools that it has within it. And then it might not have pricing, or it might not be able to schedule your cleaners, or it might not be able to do different functions. And what happens is generally there's a connection, which is called an API connection between two companies. And that's just a data feed, right? Which goes back and forth, back and forth. What most people don't realize is this data feed, it's not as robust as you would think it should be. So there is some data that gets sent across, some data that doesn't get sent across, some data that gets sent one way but not the other way. So then you say, well, Bob, but surely it's just a connection and it all connects up. It's not like that. It's a completely a separate system. And then two developers have to sit there and kind of agree as to what's being sent where. And quite often, you don't have it working seamlessly. So you miss data points that are there that could be very, very useful or very, very much needed. But there hasn't been that communication. And for these 2 points, for these two companies to start to work together, it involves a team of people. So I know of one PMS company that has, I think, 5 to 8 developers that work exclusively, a property management system working exclusively on the Airbnb API to make sure that all the data points are coming across and that it's working properly. That's 8 full-time people working on one API. So if a PMS company is saying, well, we're connected to hundreds of them, maybe they're weaving miracles and making sure that all the data is coming across. But there's a very good chance that they're missing crucial bits and pieces.
100%.
Good. Good. I'm glad that you agree with that. Okay, so we're saying here that we want to look at systems that are more integrated, where you've got more data in one place. So now you can start to leverage that data. And when we start to leverage that data, we can do all sorts of wonderful things like use the AI, speak like the owner and understand the property and all that kind of stuff. I think hopefully most people already understand the benefits of that. What's striking to me is that something that you're talking about here is, to me, it really feels like an ERP system, like an enterprise solution. So most big companies out there will actually have everything integrated. So an airline, for example, they'll have all these different systems and they'll say, whoa, whoa, we can't do this. We need everything integrated. And they pay a lot of money, like massive amounts of money to an ERP system. And look it up, folks. If you've never heard of an ERP system, look it up. Have you used ERP systems before? Are you aware of what they do and how they work for those big organizations? And am I scratching in the right direction?
Yeah, although they are like dinosaurs a little bit, the ERP. If you look
Sure.
at Oracle in the field of the hospitality in hotels, a really hard system to work on, and also a lot of money to implement them.
Mm.
People are taking, but well aware of ERP. And then I think that now we have an ability to build a new generation of ERP that can go also into the small and mid-class business.
Mm.
And we look at ERP, how do I create a multi-AI agent within the system that will be much more robust and will be able to implement in a much faster way than before.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So we are in agreement that it's kind of a similar thing, but you said that a lot of them are. I like how you said dinosaur, but they were created a long, long time ago before a lot of the new
Exactly.
technology is, and they when you build a company with a certain set of technology, it's very, very hard to maneuver and change because you're affecting. One change affects too many people, so it's very, very hard to change things and then so you have to kind of rebuild from scratch. But one of the things you said as well is they're very expensive to implement because there's so many moving parts, because the infrastructure is very robust as well. That's the great thing with these systems. They do just work, but they come at an expense. But here we're saying is that we're at a new age where that expense isn't going to be anywhere near the same as what implementing a full Oracle style system would be.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, like I would like to go back to basically
Sure.
what you want to achieve. And what you want to achieve in the end of the day is ease of use to your employees. You want your productivity to go up. You want your people, because when you're running a vacation rental business, to be honest, to begin with, it's easy. You're running like a one, two properties, but as you grow, it becoming one of the hardest business to do because you
Mm.
need to do so many stuff, right? First of all, it's the hardest asset class in real estate to manage. It's
Yep.
decentralized. So if I'm running one hotel, I have 400 homes, 400
Rooms. Yeah.
rooms,
Rooms. Yeah.
one place. I have a pool, I have a landscaping. All of my employees are in this hotel, and I have manager of the hotel, and everything is concentrated. When I'm running a vacation rental management company, I have one house over here, one house 2 miles away, another house 5 miles away. Each one of them have a pool. You have unconformity of size. One property is 1,000 square foot, another is a 5,000 square foot. I have unconformity of material, unconformity of furniture, and I have like so many stuff. And when people are coming, when tourists are coming, they want a 5-star accommodation. So they want amazing house that will look like the pictures, and everything will be clean and everything will be maintained. And how do you do all of that when you have so many moving elements? I need to be a marketing person. I need to be a salesperson. I need to do customer acquisition. I need to be to deal with the maintenance of the house. I need to look to deal with the design of the house, and so many aspects. And you're wearing so many hats, and your employees are wearing so many hats. And then I'm also using like so much technology, my task management. So my handyman working on task management, and then my bookkeeper needs to take like the task and moving into the owner statement. And there are so many like moving parts that a lot of them needs to be manually done and to move manually. And for me, the tech stack supposed to make your life easier
Mm.
and to to allow you to scale in an easier way.
Mm.
And this is how I'm looking at the stuff, and this is how I will look at tech stack, meaning what the value do I get from it and how much it's make my life easier while I'm doing it, and how do I make more productivity using it.
at the end of the
So that's the element which that I will look at.
yeah. Why do you think it's important for people to assess their tech stack? Well, one, we know that they are, but some people won't be because it's a bit it's a very it's the hard basket, right? It's huge the amount of work. Why do you think? Do you think people should be looking now? And then if they are looking now, apart from Boom, of course, what would be the top three things that you would think that they should think about?
Okay, so first of all, you talked when they need to look at it. So obviously, you don't want to look to do a change in your business season, and every part of the world is
Changes,
look
yeah.
all the time. The change is a different story. So you can look all the time. It depends where you're doing the change and when you have the capacity actually to listen and to see and all of that. So different territories in the world will have different time and different season as for that. Um, as for what I want to look at, it's also where is my suffering in my business. So if I don't have a pricing algorithm, like a pricing tool, I would look now for a pricing tool because that changed completely what I can make and can raise a revenue in 30, 40, 50% more, which will be huge. It's like I can make more money with the same inventory that I have. Lock system, like a smart lock, instead of like to give easier access to the guest. A guest portal where I can make more money on people that are coming in from extra services
Add-ons, yeah.
and also have like a better feeling into it. A channel manager to extend my distribution to different channels that can get me more leads and can get me more money. Website builder to my companies that I will be able to also create my own brand and not just do OTAs. So as more people
Mm.
are coming to me, I can create a brand, an owner portal where your owners can go in and they can see what it is and create transparency and create accountability. Doing so, it really depends on the company. If your company is that's really growing fast, you need a project management in order to maintain the growth, analytics capabilities to understand what each person doing in your organization. And I can keep going and going, but I guess it's what size of a business you are at, what what is your next step, what you want to achieve from the business, and it's really really depends to where you're at, but it's always exploring. And I will tell people go to convention, go to learn, because in the end of the day learning is power, you
Mm.
know. And a lot of time you need to ask a question. I remember in 2000, think was 17 or 18, we had a lot of parties in Miami, and I was like, how do I solve it? And I was looking at Google and I'm like, something to not to, I was writing a question. I think, I don't want to listen to what they are saying, but I would like to measure the noise level. And I got into noise aware
Yeah,
and I started using them. And the first time I got into convention was 2018. And then I saw all of the vendors and I saw like
changes everything, doesn't it?
yeah, and then I saw like a company called the Valera that they do the sales tax and the tourist tax in so we started using them, and it's all about like involve yourself, ask the question, try to understand what really hurting in your business, talk with your people to understand what they are suffering so you will understand what needs to be fixed or how you can improve their life. By improving their life, improving the business, and try to understand what is manual that can be automated. Uh,
And work on it. So look, I mean, to me, from what you're saying, I hear continuous improvement. So you're constantly learning, changing. It's not a just do it now. You're constantly keeping your eyes and ears open for any potential opportunities and changes. I really like the idea of learning from peers. That's how I've managed to get to where I am today. It's not through my own ideas. It's actually going and learning from everybody else. And that's why I love doing this particular job of hosting people like yourself, because it does give me new ideas and ways of thinking about things. And what I like about today is today we haven't gone that deep on, AI and how, it's technical implementations, which, I'm sure we're going to come to at some stage, and it's always a changing field, but we're very aware that that's going to be the biggest changer in our industry moving forward. And I think for a lot of people, actually, a lot of this will happen in the background. They won't even know how it happened, but it's just going to automate stuff and solve that. My one tip, which I'll give to everybody: if you are looking at changing your property management system, if you are looking at changing your pricing solution, if you are looking at changing your task management solution, the way that you always do it in development is you first replicate what you're doing and you do it side by side, see that it works, and then move across. What you might do with the property management system, if you've got 100 properties, you might run 10 properties on a new system, see how it works for a week, a month, 2 months. And then if it's all working well, then you can start to slowly do the transition. Because if you transition everything and you've gone wrong, it doesn't work the way that you expect it to, then you're in trouble. And it's very manageable at that size, is to try it, see how it's working. And if you don't like it, we just switch back, or you talk to the company and say, hey, it's not doing what we want it to do. Because I think a lot of people get really overwhelmed. And I think a lot of salespeople will also say, no, you've got to change the whole thing at once. And trust me, that's just a sales tactic to get you over, because then they know that once you're over, it's very hard to move back. So just do those little tests and trials. It really will pay off dividends, I promise you. That's how we do things in our business. But look, we're already over time for our episode, so I'm going to wrap us up. Were there any final thoughts that you wanted to leave the audience with, or any final tips?
When we talked about before, about there is a sentence that I like about perfect, that perfect is a work in progress. And you always need to improve yourself to be perfect, because a car in the 60s was perfect in the 60s, and now it's a junk, or really fancy and expensive car because of the thing, not because of the capabilities. So always look where you can improve, see what new technology, and not just the technology itself, understand the vision of the company to where they want to go, and go by it, because then you will have the improvements that you want and the vision to where you want to go.
I love it. I love it. Now, folks, if you are tuned in to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, then please leave us a review, give us a like, make sure you subscribe and follow. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a little thumbs up button. That thumbs up button actually helps this thing go a bit more viral. It means that more people will see it. And did you know that roughly around about 90% of you that are watching or listening on YouTube, you are not currently subscribed? It costs you nothing to subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button. I know that I keep on saying it, but it does make a massive difference, and it does allow me to keep on doing this and interviewing fantastic people like Shahar. I want to say thank you very much for joining me. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, or to find you, or to connect with Boom?
Best way, LinkedIn, Shahar Goldboim, and to connect with Boom through boomnow.com, and ask to schedule a demo, and we would love to show you what we are doing.
Will you be hosting the demo?
Not myself.
Oh, come
my
on.
team.
Everyone wants to meet you now.
To meet me, I'm going to a lot of convention. I'm in a lot of convention. I'm always available on LinkedIn. Message me. I love to connect. I love to talk. That will be the best way.
Beautiful. Look, thank you very much. I wish you a really good rest of your evening. And look, I'm sure we'll connect very, very soon, and I'll see you even sooner. So take care of yourself.
All right. It was great. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the time.